We Need Each Other is a podcast about the importance of human interaction. It provides a reminder that we are not intended to live in isolation. Human beings need each other. The things about another that piss you off and the things that take you over the moon are all opportunities to see through another's eyes, recognize their intrinsic value, and then look more deeply within ourselves to find the love that's always there.
Welcome to this episode of We Need Each Other. You know, I'm excited about every guest that I have always, but I don't think I have ever been more excited about this guest that we have today. So let me read you her bio. Dianne Reeves is the preeminent jazz vocalist in the world today. Her arsenal of talents is richly on display in each and every song of her limitless repertoire. As a result of her virtuosity, improvisational prowess, and unique jazz and R&B stylings, Dianne has received 5 Grammy Awards for Best Jazz Vocalist Album, an honorary doctorate of music from Juilliard, and was recently named a 2018 National Endowment of the Arts Jazz Master. Dianne's magical, timeless voice, yes, indeed, exceptional personality, and the sheer force of her performance mark her as a captivating, world-class artist. Wynton Marsalis exclaims she has one of the most powerful, purposeful, and accurate voices of this or any time. Dianne's Grammy Award-winning album, Beautiful Life, epitomizes the spirit of her storied and extraordinary career. Traversing many genres and collaborating with a diverse collection of artists, adored by audiences and critics alike throughout the world, Dianne Reeves is a natural wonder not to be missed. I am so excited to have you here, Dianne, because that and so much more is just true about you. So I have to give my little story because I know Dianne personally because her sister worked with my former husband, and that's how I got to meet Dianne. And the exciting thing for me was Dianne would call before Thanksgiving and say, "I'm going to fry turkeys. You want to bring the turkey over?" And Dianne would fry our turkeys. Do you still do that?
No.
You're like, no, I do not do that anymore.
You know, one year, my very, very good friend and I, we did 14 turkeys.
Oh my goodness!
I said, this is out of hand.
All right, yeah, because everybody's like, you want because nobody has a fryer and nobody wants to do it. So anyway, Dianne, there's such a depth to you, and it's felt through your voice. And it's felt just in casual conversation with you. Your presence truly, you know, I don't know much Bible because I was raised Catholic, you know, but there's that saying, deep calls unto deep. And that's what I feel about you. Like you're a quiet storm, you know, that there's something that runs so deep within your core and your voice pulls it out of others. You know, so where does that depth come from?
Well,
I know you know it's there.
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing, I think a lot of it, you find your place through the experiences in your life, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think the very, very young had a very, very traumatic experience of losing my father, you know, and that because it was a kind of relationship that, and my mother used to tell me, and I remember my father, even though I was 2 years old, I vividly remember him. And then I also remember when he was not there. And I used to have these reoccurring dreams for years about it. And I think that, you know, you go through life, you experience things, and fortunately for me, you know, I was given the talent of, you know, music. And this was a place that I could, you know, kind of work things out. So I would have to say that the majority of I'm extremely curious about a lot of things, and very, I think from very young, I just had a sense of otherness, in terms of spirituality. From a very young age. As a matter of fact, I used to feel like the presence of my father, guided me through so many things, And my mother was also someone who, looked up, and knew that there was something outside of herself. And even though like you, I went to Catholic school.
Yeah,
I went to
right.
Catholic church, and I found things there. But more than anything, it's been the thing that I put into the music more than anything is just my life experience and the things that I see that affect me.
And I think that's what, besides your voice, your voice is such an instrument. It's just amazing. When did you know? I know you come from a musical family, but when did you know that you had this voice?
Well, when I was in junior high school, which was another traumatic time because we were the first to be bused here in Denver. And so we went out to this very new school out out south, that so far south, I didn't even know that, that part of Denver even existed at the time. And at that time, it was full of farmland, and there was a housing development. But, we went to Hamilton Junior High, and that's where I met Benny Williams, who had just come here from Texas. And she was there as a teacher, as the music teacher. And I was in her choir. And I started out with her learning to play piano, taking piano lessons, because I wasn't really, really sure about singing. But, there was so much turbulence going on in the school when we got there that she decided that she was going to put on this, musical extravaganza with all these choir members and different people who weren't even in the choir to bring the students together. And that's how I found out I had a voice, that I had an instrument. And it was from there that I'll never forget Edwin Hawkins had the Oh Happy Day album out, and that whole record was really beautiful. But there was this one song outside of Oh Happy Day called Joy that I loved, and I sang that, and it made me feel a way, and it made the audience respond in a way that was like I had never experienced. So it was, I think I was about 11, 12, and I decided I'm doing this. This is what I love.
I heard a story, tell me if it's true, that you were out in the hall singing and Benny Williams heard you. Is that true?
Yeah,
that
what happened was this friend of mine, Karen, was supposed to be singing Aretha Franklin's In the Spirit in the Dark. And for some reason, she knew that I could sing. So she's like, Diane, can you help me sing it? I'm just having a hard time singing. So I'm out in the hall singing In the Spirit in the Dark, And then Miss Williams came out and said, who is that singing?
Who's that?
And some of my classmates said, Diane, don't you know? That's Diane. And that's how it started, yeah.
So that's how you became a part of that choir?
Well, I was already a part of the
You're
choir,
already
but
in the
that's how I
choir.
became a soloist in the choir.
Okay. That's beautiful. Beautiful story. So I know that you come from a musical family. And I wonder sometimes how that guidance maybe protected you from some of what an artist might typically go through. Because, yeah, you're like, But, I'm going to just go back for a minute. When I was younger, I would look at Whoopi Goldberg, who in times where people would say there's no roles for Black people, Black actors, and it's so hard. And I would look at Whoopi Goldberg as a kid or a younger person and go, but she's always acting. And she's this weird looking chick with dreadlocks. So What's her consciousness? So I wonder about you. How were you affected by this racist society that we live in. And that I know there are many stories of musicians and things that they went through, but we look at you, I never see it. You know, and I haven't heard that story. You may have told it.
Well,
but I'm curious.
I mean, believe me, lots of, mines all over the place. But I have to say, the thing that helped me to be able to get through and maneuver and see and recognize was my mother, my aunt, my sister. You know, they're all people who were activists and aware and, lived with clarity. And, and also, my mother made me feel a way about myself, that I could go into a room and, be me. And she also gave me a kind of armor. And I think I got that also from my sister. It's like, I tell you who I am. You don't tell me who I am or who you think I am. Because I know who I am. And so I was very, very, I was really confident in a lot of ways, in a lot of areas in myself, But absolutely, I mean, there are, we could do a whole thing. There are so many stories, but yes, the racism is very much there. As a matter of fact, it was interesting, just the whole thing of how the record industry was set up. I mean, you had the pop charts and you had the R&B charts, which meant the black charts. And black artists were always put in this position where they had to cross over, and people were always listening to you, and the kind of craziness that they would put you through so that you would cross over, like they were giving you something. The music was out there for everybody to hear, but you had this idea that you had to cross over. Well, jazz music is, a music that is about defiance and, anyway, because first of all, you have to find your own sound. You have to develop it and define it and refine it. That's what I always tell young people, and really be who you are. And because you listen, and especially the music of the 60s and 70s, that time is my time of growing up and being very, very conscious of the music. And there was like a lot of information in that music. I guess it's like people get now, but for us, there was a lot of information on how to, to get through and deal with things. If you're listening to Curtis Mayfield tell you that we're a winner,
That's right.
And don't ever let anybody tell you you can't make it.
Right.
So, it was very, very powerful. And so, I was armed with those kinds of things. And the other part of it was there was a lot of people that were in this industry, and family included, like my cousin George Duke, that, helped you get through, as well. And, to tell you, don't do that or do this or whatever, give you, what they know. And I met so many beautiful people along the way that helped to, keep me clear and guided and trying to, because when you first start out, you don't really know. Sometimes you don't know what you want to do, but you know what you don't want to do. Yeah. And I kind of fell in that kind of category until, I realized, okay, that really, what I'm saying is I do know what I want to do, And so I went after that. And so I just knew how to be prepared to walk into a room and you had to slay.
Did you always sing jazz?
No. I started out in high school, had a band here in Denver called the Mellow Moods. It was a great band.
The Mellow Moods.
The Mellow Moods. And I just came across some pictures of it, and I can't wait to put them up. But yeah, we played in proms, and we did, the community center, and, our band was booked in different kinds of places. And so I love that. It was, R&B, but we also took the songs and kind of made them our own and kind of changed them up a little bit. And then, when my Uncle Charles, who's a great classical bassist and jazz
Yeah.
bassist, who will be 101 this year.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
mhm. When he realized that, singing was what I wanted to do, he was the one that started bringing the jazz records. And then at that time, we had a really cool jazz community here in
Mm-hmm.
Denver. So I was going out to hear people, and there was this wonderful pianist who played at a place called Lafitte's downtown. Her name was Louise Duncan. I mean, an extraordinary pianist. And we would
Mm-hmm.
go down there and see her, and she'd have me sit in. And so, it was
Mm-hmm.
all of these things that helped me to navigate and get through and just be.
Mm. What is the most difficult racial situation that you might remember that you could tell us about that happened with you personally?
Um, well, I remember there was a situation where, at that time, a lot of the record companies were changing umbrellas. It was
Mm-hmm.
without, like, for instance, I was signed to Capitol Blue Note, but then it ended up with EMI. And EMI was my contract actually ended up under EMI, and Capitol took Blue Note, but they were still
Mm.
part of the same family. Now I'm under another umbrella, which is not jazz. And I remember, I was getting ready to do an album that will be actually 30 years old in a few years, in 2024. It's called Art and Survival. And
Girl, one of my favorite Diane Reeves songs is on that one.
oh,
I am an endangered species and I sing no victim song. I
right.
am woman. I'm an artist. I know where my life belongs.
Uh,
My voice belongs. Go ahead.
so
It's one of my favorites.
I remember when I ended up over here at this more pop oriented label. At the time, it was like I didn't even, only thing I could do was deal with my spirituality. And I had a godmother in the Yoruba religion, and we
Mm.
discussed all of these things because this was like totally new. This was totally out of my comfort zone. And there was a
Mm.
guy that ran the label at the time, and he looked at me and he said, you know, I have tamed Streisand, Pardon, and Simon, and I hear you're a bitch to work with. I can tame you too.
Ooh.
So that's how how it started,
Wow.
And I just remember when I went into his office, he had this huge desk, and it was like the judge. It kind of set up high, but it was massive. And
For
in
his
front
ego.
and in front of it, it had two chairs that matched, but they were U-shaped chairs that were very tight. And so when I walked into his office and I saw those chairs, because my godmother told me about these things, there was a sofa in the back of the office. So I went and sat on the sofa, and
I love it.
he
I
said
love
to
it.
me, he said, I can't talk to you from back there. And I just said, those chairs are not, we're getting ready to have a conversation. I said, those chairs are not comfortable.
Mm.
So he had to, but some of the things that he said during that meeting, was really like, I mean, I really had to keep a poker face, because he told me that, jazz was nothing but three musicians playing three different songs at the same time. And he said, and if that's what you want to do, then I'll send you back to Blue Note, which is where I wanted to go. But I knew better than to say okay, because
Right.
he was someone who wanted to really know what it was that I wanted, so it could be dangled in front of me.
Yeah.
And it was really, so when I did the album Art and Survival, I was very, very fortunate to have an A&R person who, once again, acted, I've always had these protectors, who was just there and said, just do your thing. And that record was very pivotal in my life, because it was like I had come to another understanding of myself, and I felt like, okay, this might be my last record ever, So I'm going to just be myself totally on it, sing and say all the things that I wanted to say. And it got me kicked off of that label and then ended up going back to going back to Blue Note, which is where I wanted to be.
Divine intervention.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more, but that time was really made me start to be able to see things in a way, in terms of, trying not to deal with them emotionally, but deal with them, from my mind intellectually as well as spiritually, and really, look at it for what it is and see the possibilities in terms of how do I get around it, how do I make it work, or whatever, just seeing the possibilities. And I think that thing right there has helped me to maneuver and get through so many things, because it would just be easy to shout and holler but it was like, I felt like my musical life was on the line, so I had to figure out a way to get through, and it worked.
Talk because it's the spirituality of you that I believe that comes through in whatever you're singing, and that, honest to God, people, just being in a room with Diane, you feel her. I feel you. Oh. Your presence. You don't have to say a word, and you flash that smile, and you just are felt from a place that's very deep. So you said something about a family member that practiced Yoruba. Was that your beginning into the spiritual world?
Well, actually,
and your mother was
extremely. Yeah. No, when I moved to New York, I was seeking. I wanted to find why I felt and why I thought the way that I did, and why I knew the things that I knew, and that's how I ended up in the Yoruba religion, and seeking that philosophy, because at that time it really, really helped me to understand a lot of things about myself. How do you know things that you've never been taught, And so here comes this idea of cellular memory and spiritual memory, and how you can look like people that have come before you, but you can also be like them, have traits like them, know things that they know. So this empowered me. And that was all during a time, that started all during a time when I was working with Harry Belafonte. And so I ended up moving to New York, and that was my journey at that time.
Would you have imagined when you were that girl singing out in the hallway this path for yourself, this level of achievement for yourself?
No, but I was comfortable with being curious, and that thing has been the thing that has opened so many passageways for me. Just being able to go and see and sit in places or be in places that could be very uncomfortable, but the curiosity was so strong that I wanted to see. So even in Old Souls, that's what I say. I'm a curious spirit child.
Yes, you are.
And so it was, I remember the first time it really like hit me. I was living in Los Angeles. This was in the late 70s, early 80s. I was in Los Angeles, and my drummer at the time, we had this band, he called me up and he said, "Diane, there's this lady singing, you gotta come see her." He said, "Come now." And they were at the first show. So I run all the way out to Culver City, and here I walk into this place called Hop Sings, and on stage is this lady named Betty Carter. I didn't even know who she was, and I was there. She was there 6 nights. I saw every show except for that first one. I was there every night, because every night it was like, it was a religious experience. It was as if the world opened up in a way that I saw through this crack, and I saw something, and I recognized things. And she was the first, musician, singer. I mean, there have been many, but the way that she would co-create with her band, stand in her band, create moments, help you, put you in suspended animation. She had this, she, really understood time. She was masterful with time and placement of words and spirit, and oh my God, that, and so that was one of those very curious periods. And so I always tell people, I came up at a time where a lot of the great jazz masters were still alive. And so I went, some of them I worked with, but some of them I got to go and just to go really, really see. And so I always say that I went to a living school.
Yes, yes. Did you ever meet Betty Carter?
Oh yeah.
In person?
Oh
of course.
yeah. Oh yeah. At one point I would, anytime she would come to LA, I was there, and there's a woman that worked with her, and she used to say, Betty would say, that girl is out there, and then, and then finally we met and talked, and I actually Jovan Jackson, who's a wonderful musician who's from Denver, he did an album that Betty produced, and he asked me to be on it. So I actually was on an album that, she produced, and it was really, really wonderful, to work with her in that way. She was an extraordinary person. She was hard because she, came from a place that, this was no BS. This is, and I mean, she would ask me about choices that I would make about songs, and, we would go back and forth about this thing, but it was wonderful because I respected her, and she, singers like her were the ones that kind of gave me license to be, and I would tell her, I was like, you do it that way, but you gave me license to, to do it this way, and I feel confident in my choice. So that was really wonderful.
What do you teach those who come behind you?
Everything that I have to give, everything that they want to know. I'm an open book like that, there are a lot of singers that, are part of my life, and I love it because, like I said, coming up in Denver, I had people like, Ron Henry and Carolyn Noble, and there were just all these people that were very generous in terms of, helping. And so I see this new group of singers coming up, and they're wonderful. They're just spectacular. And, whatever it is that I have that I can help you with, they have my number.
Yeah,
they call me. Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah. Because you have that's who you are. I mean, you're just so, like, this is Dianne Reeves, but it's like Dianne Reeves. You know what I mean? It's like you're just like a family member, an old friend. You just have that kind of energy about you, which is part of your absolute beauty.
Oh, thank you. But it's I wanted to say something. There's an interesting thing around that. And that is, when I did Art and Survival, the whole reason for doing that record is because up to that point, I had this kind of duality, People celebrated Dianne Reeves. Diane, I did everything, Dianne Reeves the person, I did everything, let me turn this, I'm sorry.
Make sure I'm turned off here.
I meant to turn this off, but I'm sorry, I put it on. But I did everything, how can I say? I did, I was doing everything to promote that, And so I realized that, this person that would go on stage all of a sudden had no, inhibitions and then you come off stage and it's something different. So Art and Survival was about putting those two things together. And given, in the climate that we are in now, and looking at people like Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, I'm like looking at them going, whoa, I can tell you so many times when I felt this way, but if I were to have said no, it would have been like I would have had the understanding that the world has now, they didn't have then. And it was
Yes.
hard, yes. And those kinds of things, so yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, shout out to Simone Biles and
Yeah.
Naomi Osaka. Honestly, they've been criticized for taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, in this world where systemic racism is so much in our faces, since the murder of George Floyd, what is your experience of everything that's going on? What are your feelings about where we are right now?
Well, the biggest thing is I know that I must stay focused and vigilant, but in a place where I don't allow the outrage is just like, there was a moment when I couldn't even pull myself back, but I have been seeing things like this all my life, and now they're out there
Absolutely.
and people are
Yes.
responding in a way like,
Yeah.
yeah, I did it,
Yeah.
and so the outrage is there. So, one of the biggest things is that I am looking at this and I am not going to allow it to make me break up with myself. I want to
What
stay,
does that mean?
meaning that I know what love, I know what justice, I know what compassion, empathy, I know what all those things look like, feel like, experience them, have experienced them, tried to be that. I know what grace looks like and redemption, all of that. I know what that is. And that's, those are things that are very much a part of my life. But I also know how to speak truth to power as well.
Yes.
And so my mother used to have this thing about, be mindful of the things that you entertain. So, like through this whole process of watching how these things are moving through, there's two things that you have to do. One is to, help to make sure these young people, and they are, but even the ones that are younger than the babies, that they are like taken care of, that they are being looked at in a way that they, that even in the midst of all of this craziness, that they get to be children. They
Yes.
get to, they get to be innocent, and to be mindful of, I don't care whose child, to be protective, to be that village that protects these babies, because to have that kind of trauma, when you're that young, it changes your life. Some
Absolutely.
people get through and some people don't,
Right.
it's really, really hard. And so that's like one of the things. And the other thing is, just to stay focused and be about forward movement and making changes. All this stuff is happening, so being prepared, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yes.
Being prepared in a way that is like, okay, your financial affairs are taken care of, that you can help people to build and have things in their life so that they can move forward in all of this, because we're living in a time where, like, man, it's like just the thought of that we have gone through this whole big COVID thing, and
Yes.
people are holding on tight to their homes, and that they could actually be evicted, and knowing what we have gone through, where's the mercy, grace, and where's that, and I understand it from both sides, but we are a very rich country. And I mean, it's just interesting in seeing how things are being taken care of. So, if you're not going to take care of me, I'm not depending on you to take care of me. I'm going to take care of myself and help you learn how to take care of yourself.
And that's the bottom line right there. And, that's what I teach two classes. I teach a classes for white people and I teach a classes for black people. And I have this free webinar that I do that really is in support of black people in recognizing that we must stop expecting that we get some approval, some,
Right.
pass, some whatever from white America, because it's not about them, it's about us.
And that's what we are seeing with these two women. They're not
Yes,
looking, that is
absolutely.
what we're seeing. It's like that's it. That's what they're
That's
like.
it.
I don't need you. Okay, but I have done the damn thing. I
Right,
have,
exactly.
I have set the bar. She has set this bar so high that, it's like, but you don't get to have my soul.
No,
And
you don't get to have my soul.
You don't
Yes.
get to have my soul, and you don't get to break my mind. You don't get to do that. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, do you have a favorite song of yours?
of mine,
How could you possibly have one, right? Do you
it's
have,
like it just it changes from time to time. But I had to say no. It's like I'll go back and find something that I've done. Like right now, it's interesting. From the Art and Survival album, there was a song on there called Freedom Dance. And I'm really excited because Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble here in Denver, they're going to dance to this piece. And
Oh, lovely.
I went in and recut it, and then I'm going to perform it with them. And so
I love it.
that right now,
Oh my
that's
God.
my
When is
favorite
that?
song. That's
When is
gonna
that
be
happening?
in September. Yeah.
In September.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to be there for that.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's 2 or 3 shows at Ellie Calkins, and I'm just very excited about it because I've always wanted to see people dance to that song. And, here it is almost 30 years later, but the dream is coming true, and I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned I am an endangered species before I ever met you. When I was living in Los Angeles before, I used to do these women's retreats in Sedona, Arizona, and that was our theme song. It was our theme song. It was our theme song.
Wow.
We would drum and dance and wail,
Wow.
and it was amazing. And then when I was like, oh my God, it's Dianne Reeves that did I am an endangered species, because it just the words. It just fed our soul.
Oh, I remember I did many interviews in the United States and Europe where, they would come after me for that song. And I just was like, laugh, because
Wow.
I was like, what are you talking about? Don't you have daughters?
Yeah.
Don't you, what would you want for your daughter?
Right.
And so it was, that was an
you spoke
interesting
truth
time.
in that song. You spoke absolute truth still today.
Thank you.
In that song. Absolutely. And Testify is another one of mine that I love of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yes. So, any new albums coming out?
I'm working on a project that is because I've always loved the music of Brazil, and I'm very respectful of the culture. I'm not trying to do a record like to say, I'm a fellow Brazilian from Denver, it's not like that. But how that music has affected me and how it's been a part of my life, I think every record that I have ever recorded has some aspect of that music on it. So there's something in it. So I thought, at this time it would be a good time to do a record that is about that and and a tribute to that music, because it has really carried me through.
How would you describe the music of Brazil?
Well, it's something, there Africans have brought many rhythms across the world, but it's something about those rhythms that feel very, very natural, and they feel like home to me, and the joy and the pain and the way that it is expressed. The lyrics are so, the poetry of the lyrics is so beautiful, and here you have all of these very, very deep subjects going on in these songs with these magnificent melodies that are very intricate. And you go to any concert and the people are singing, they can sing these songs, when I'm telling you, they have the most beautiful, intricate melodies, they know them all, you know. And it's like, it's the most, to see all of these ideas, the music for the mind, for the body, for the feet, all of this come together in this way of celebration and expression. I just love the music for those qualities, and improvisation, which is why jazz musicians, you know, love the music as well, because it has that kind of thing.
I love Brazil. You know, it was the last trip I took before pandemic. I was in Bahia, and it's, I think, my favorite place I've ever been.
Yeah,
the people are just amazingly beautiful.
Yeah,
just
they're beautiful
spirit,
and they walk in their rhythm.
Girl,
you know?
They sure do.
They walk in their rhythm. I love Bahia. So this record actually will be, you know, dealing with a lot of the, like, we know all of the great composers that we've, you know, heard people do, but there are other composers, and so, you know, like Pisanguinho, who I just absolutely love, you know, and the discovery for him for me is just really wonderful. And so I was like, you know, here's the largest population of Africans outside of Africa in this country.
Yes.
You know, I know they have their Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan's, and
yes,
you know, so I want to hear that music, and you know, and just dig a little deeper. So that's what this record is about.
And that's anticipated somewhere down the future. You don't really know yet.
Yeah, we're in the process. I mean, I have been working on it, because at first I started working on everything in Portuguese, and I'm like, it's not my language. It's not the language that I can like expand in. And that is, like, when I improvise, a lot of times I'll take a song and I'll take it off the page and do different things. But a lot of this, I said, I'm learning phonetically, so I need to write in English, do some things in Portuguese, but really write in English, and you know, go from there. So I just had to reconfigure everything, and so I'm really excited about it. I'm loving, you know, what's happening with it.
I'm excited about it too. Can't wait. So, what final words of wisdom would you pass on to people today? People today. I know Black people are exhausted.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that before you are anything, you are a human being first. Before you belong to any party, any religion, anything, you created from a divine spark, and you are here, and you have, you know, and you're authentic, and there's nobody in the world like you. You are so unique, you know. So, you know, I would say that, you know, to celebrate your uniqueness, and, you know, and the things that will best serve you, you know, and be, like my mom would say, be good to yourself, have grace for yourself, and have grace for others, you know, because the energy, and so that we can change the energy of the planet, because there's so many things going on besides, you know, all of this, you know, the insanity of white supremacy is the same, but that same insanity, you know, is also permeating the world and destroying it, you know. So we have to be mindful of all of these things, and that this is a gift, and that we are a gift as human beings on this planet. We don't even know if there probably are other beings, but all we really, really know is that it's us. So how do we preserve us? How do we see us? I just don't have time for the energy of hatred. I just can't, you know. I've been seeing these videos of Karens, and I'm thinking, that's insane. How do you continue to hate like that? You know, I mean, that can't possibly be good for you. What's wrong with you? You know, that you have to put somebody down based on the color of their skin and their difference to make you feel better. You need to examine yourself about that. You know?
Absolutely.
So, you know, I just tell people, before you are anything, you're a human being.
You know, I say all the time, what we have here, the problem we have is a lack of empathy. We have a lack of empathy.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't put yourself in place of another person and attempt to see from their perspective, then everything about them is wrong because it's not like you.
Yeah, and I'm so tired of this left right stuff. It's like get to know somebody.
Get to know somebody. That's one of the things I teach in my class. I have a class for white people that's called Deconstructing Racism. And one of the things I ask is, how many black people do you know up close and personal?
Right.
And I'm not talking about the person that works with you because you don't know them.
You just work with them. But
you work with them.
That
and they're wearing a mask.
Yeah, that you break bread with, that you hang out with, that you talk to. How many do you know?
Right.
And I find that there are way more black people know more white folks.
Yes, absolutely. And really know and really have been in their homes and in their spaces and had conversation, but the reverse doesn't tend to happen. And that's where something greatly is being missed. Because we're amazing, beautiful people. I say that all the time. We're just such fascinating people. I had a post on Facebook because I had seen an interview of a black man interviewing a white person who was completely against critical race theory, the teaching of, and the black man asked him, well, what do you like about being white? And he just went all over the world and couldn't answer that question.
Right.
So I posted on Facebook.
Mark Lamont Hill.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I posted on Facebook and I said, I'm asking my white friends on Facebook, what do you like about being white? I didn't get any answers.
Yeah.
Except for from one person. She said, well, I just don't think this is... She said, you should ask that on my webinar, A Seat at the Table. I said, okay, I will, because my webinar this time is all black panel. I will ask them what they like about being black.
Because I can tell you about what I love about...
Instantly. What do you love about being black, Dianne Reeves?
Girl, I love my skin. Mm-hmm. I love my family. I love the way that we interact with one another. Mm-hmm. I love the picnics, the barbecues, the stories, the joy of blackness is like it's all I just love it. I love the compassion, empathy, and the thing of standing with you when you're in the in the trenches, and just I love the community, and like you may not see somebody but they still looking out for you.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, hey, Diane, let me just, and I love all of that. I'll never forget one time I was on the subway and I had this is a while ago, but still, I had these big glasses on, and this brother leaned over and he said, now, Miss Reeves, you can't ride this subway no more. He said, you think that nobody knows who you are. Right. He said, but it's not safe for you down.
Right.
I was laughing.
He's like, we recognize you.
He said, you got glasses on, that don't mean nothing, sister. He said, but I feel you, but it's like everywhere. So and even in my in my art community, in the jazz community, I wish people could be more like this community, because there's everybody. It's inclusive of everyone, and it's a loving community. So,
and so your awareness and your fellow musicians' awareness of that puts that energy out into the world, and we can pick it up, and we can bring that energy out into the world also. When we shift our perspective, when we have that kind of consciousness, we are capable of changing what we're looking at. We have to know how spiritually powerful we are.
Right, and just like you said, asking the right questions, the human questions. Yeah. It's like, come on now. We're two human beings now. You can listen to these talking heads on the news and all of that kind of stuff, but tell me, what do you really think? And based on what you just said, what does that mean? What does critical race theory really mean?
Right, exactly.
Because obviously there's something about it you fear, but you don't even know what it is.
Don't even know what it is. Right. Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
It's about black people. That's all I need to know. It helps black people look better. That's all I need to know. I mean, I don't even understand. I don't. It's a mindset that I cannot understand.
Right.
Because it's just not who we are. It's not what we come from.
Well, and I think through having these discussions and these things being brought, to everyone's attention, everybody's starting to, kind of go, wait a minute, we need to like really look at this. So I think that, change there's like all kinds of disturbance and struggle around change. Yeah. But I stay hopeful and hope that, that these conversations are going to make a difference.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's my intention, because we need each other. That's why it's the name of this podcast. We need each other. Right. People, all kinds of people, all ages, all ethnicities. We need each other. We need to understand. We need to commune with each other.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the beauty of the planet is, especially when you look at the people, is that we are all these unique colors, shapes, sizes, and all these kind of, I mean, what a, and then even with the whole thing of science, I say, I'll tell people, people who are scientists are studying God's work,
Yeah.
They're studying how things, are why? Because with everything that we learn about the way that this planet is put together, it helps us,
Yes.
And things that I know, I can help you, and things that you can help me. But if we just like looking at skin color, eye color, hair, grade, and all of these kind of things, it's going to get in the way, and has, of our humanity. And we have the ability to be something really amazing, even more than what we are. Yeah.
And so, I'm just going to know that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed through all the chaos. There's a term called chaotic, that out of chaos, order comes. And I just feel like that's where we are.
Yeah.
And Diane, I thank you for just being who you are. I thank you for your beautiful family. Shout out to Sharon.
Yes, my sister.
Sharon. Love her dearly. Shout out to your family. I was fortunate to be able to spend time with your mother and time with your family. Yeah. I am blessed by that. And I am blessed by you. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry that we had to see each other under such
circumstances.
Sad, circumstances. Yes. But I'm just praying for, everybody to stay lifted and, see the beauty that is out there, and, always be able to see DJ in the beauty.
Yes. Love you, DJ Ruski, dude.
Yeah.
So you're going to be in LA and Santa Monica, right? Do you know your schedule?
Yeah.
I think in October or something.
Yeah, it's on my birthday, so I'm excited. Oh. I'm going to be at the Broad Theater with Chucho Valdez, which I'm excited about. And so it's October 23rd. Yeah.
October 23rd. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm coming. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
I love you so much.
Love you too, girl. You take care.
You
be good
too.
To yourself.
I am doing my best.
All right.
All right. I'll see you in October.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.